There are two people who are alike in almost every way. They both strive to live the gospel, both pray every day, both do what is right in their lives. The only difference between them is the amount of effort it takes them to do what is right. Person A likes to do what is right and so never has to try hard. It is never a challenge to be charitable, forgiving, or morally upright. It just flows from who they are. Person B, on the other hand, does not like what is good. They would much rather be promiscuous, selfish, lazy, just give in to all of life's shallow pleasures. But they work really hard, against what is natural, to act in the same way that person A does. Of these two people, assuming that they are the same in every other way, which one is the holier one? Which is the one closer to the kingdom of God? Really think about it. And while you do, I'll give you some time. I want to tell you about what I'm wearing here. No, it is not cosplay. I'm not trying to be a Jedi. This brown garment that I wear is called a habit. It's what St. Francis of Assisi wore after his conversion, because really, it's what the poor wore. Undyed cloth and a cheap rope instead of a leather belt. It's called a habit from the Latin habitus because it symbolizes the way of life that we put on, the regular routine of prayer, service, humility, and fraternity that we do over and over. When I put on this habit, what I'm doing is putting on a way of life. And let me tell you, it works. Really, when I put this thing on, I am a much better person because it reminds me of who I am. Stuck in traffic or cut off on the highway, the normal me wants to shout and make offensive gestures, but the me in the habit says, remember what you're wearing. Charity, patience. When I'm out and about in normal clothes, it's easy for me to ignore people, even to be rude. When you're dressed like this, people will be constantly looking at you, so you might as well smile and say hello. The habit makes me a much more confident, sociable person. And all of those near occasions of sin, going to places I'm not supposed to be, looking at things online I'm not supposed to look at, yeah, not in my habits. I do not want to create more scandal for the church, end up on the news. A white male dressed like a Jedi was arrested today. No. Can you imagine that call to my provincial? Oh, hey, Kevin, yeah, I'm doing good. You know how you're always telling us that we should be more visible signs in the community? Yeah, well, I got some good news and bad news. No, that is not a conversation I ever want to have. Wearing the habit reminds me of who I am, what I do, and maybe most importantly, what I don't do. It keeps me on the straight and narrow, focused on what's important. I am not gonna do anything bad dressed like this. Which is why, whenever I do want to do something bad, I just take it off and wear normal clothes. No. Just kidding. Wearing a habit is not a costume that you can just put on and take off given the circumstances and act completely differently. Wearing the habit, putting on this way of life, actually has an effect on me. I think of the habit like bumpers on a bowling alley. At first, it's just a hard boundary. Don't do this. Walls are set up to prevent you from doing bad things. When you know where you want to go, but you're prone to run the wrong direction, it offers you guidance down the lane. But things start to change after a while, don't they? Sooner or later, you get used to what is right and wrong. You learn the technique of how to roll the ball down the lane. And sooner or later, you don't even need the bumpers. Doing the right thing comes so naturally, the perfect technique so ingrained, that habit or not, bumpers or not, you are the same person. Which brings us back to the question I asked at the beginning. Do you remember what it was? Two people are alike in almost every way. Both do the right thing, but person A wants to do the right thing and it's easy for them, whereas person B wants to do the wrong thing and has to try a lot harder. Who is the holier person? At first, it may seem like this is a question of mere opinion, that there's no right or wrong answer, just preference. This is not the case. In the world of Catholic thought, the unequivocal right answer is that the holier person is person A. If you pick person B, this might come as a bit of a surprise. If all things are equal, wouldn't you want the person who works harder and has to make a bigger sacrifice? What virtue is there in a person who does what is easy? The issue here is that while person B should be lauded for overcoming their disordered will to do what is good, the fact of the matter is that their will is still disordered. They want what is bad. On good days when they've had enough food, gotten enough sleep, they're feeling great, temptations will come and they'll be able to say, no, doing the right thing. But this won't always be the case. If they truly want what is bad, if doing what is good comes down to having a strong will against their natural desires, there are going to be times when they fail to do good. As long as their will is divided, as long as they have to overcome what is natural, temptation will always have a stranglehold on them. What does St. Paul say? The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. The spirit may want one thing, but it's going to be very difficult to always follow through on it if it's fighting against the flesh that wants something else. Person A, having a desire for what is good, having shaped their lives in such a way that goodness comes naturally, has trained not only their spirit, but their flesh as well. When tempted with evil, they will not be swayed by the weakness of their own flesh, because their flesh doesn't even want those things. Especially as Americans, but I think as a whole human race, we tell ourselves this lie all of the time that we are completely free, that we can do anything we want if we set our minds to it. Doesn't matter if we do the wrong thing over and over again, I can always flip a switch and do what's right when I want to. I hate to break it to you, but this is not how things work. The habits we create for ourselves, whether they be in diet and exercise, sleep, how we cope with stress, what we do when we're afraid, all of these things have an effect on us. The more we do something, the more we put on a certain life, good or bad, the more we are going to naturally act that way without thinking. Just as athletes develop muscle memory, we develop a sort of muscle memory for our moral lives, natural responses that influence the way we live. Think back to our analogy of the bowling alley. If you are an athlete that has trained with the perfect technique for years, knowing exactly how to roll the ball, you have so trained your muscles that they want to do it the right way. You can do the perfect technique without even thinking. In some ways, it's actually difficult to do it the wrong way. If we train ourselves to want what is bad, always resorting to gluttony when we're stressed, promiscuity when we're lonely, violence when we're angry, whatever it may be, then doing the wrong thing will become easy. We'll do it without even thinking. We may want to do what is right, and we may even succeed much of the time, but it will always be by acting against our nature, overcoming what is natural. As much as we may try to do good, when we have vices, basically spiritual bad habits, our task is going to be much more difficult. But on the other hand, if we train ourselves to want what is good, treating our enemies with charity, showing patience in distress, acting with courage when we're afraid, then doing the right thing will become easy. We may start with bumpers, struggling at first, but in no time at all, we'll be the type of person that can't even imagine ourselves in the gutter. When we develop virtues, spiritual good habits, doing what is good will come naturally to us. And really, isn't that what we should want? Doing good, wanting what is good, even when easy, especially when easy, is the goal of life. Being a Christian means wanting to be so united with God through Jesus Christ that our wills are one and the same, that every fiber of our being wants to be like Him and do what He did. To do good while wanting what is bad just doesn't make sense. If you find yourself wanting to do what is good, but always falling short, struggling with the same sins over and over again, it might be time to look at the spiritual habits that inform you, the vices that trap you, and the virtues that need to grow. How do we do that exactly? Well, that is a topic that we cannot do justice to quickly. And so in part 2 of this topic, which I will post on Friday, I'll shift from the theoretical to practical and offer some advice on how to build virtues and turn away from vices. Until then, peace and good to you.